As a result of persistent inflation, more Americans are now living paycheck to paycheck. According to a recent study, nearly two-thirds of all Americans are living paycheck to paycheck since there is no end in sight to escalating prices. According to the report, even high earners report feeling overworked. Average savings decreased from $11,274 in May to $10,757 in June over the course of a month. For workers of all income levels, inflation has been a financial strain. According to a recent Lending Club research, 157 million persons, or 61% of Americans, were living paycheck to paycheck as of June. This is an increase from the 58% who said they were doing so in May. Adults who felt overworked made up 55% of the population a year ago. According to the survey, even high incomes struggle to make ends meet. A higher percentage than the previous month. 36% of individuals making $200,000 or more reported living paycheck to paycheck. According to a different recent survey from consulting firm Willis Towers Watson, 36% of people making $100,000 or more reported living paycheck to paycheck. Inflation has been a persistent issue. The cost of living has been increasing even faster, especially for food and, until very recently, gasoline. So paychecks don't go as far despite an increase in the average hourly wage of 5.1% from a year earlier. The Consumer Price Index, which tracks the average change in prices for goods and services purchased by consumers, increased by a faster than expected 9.1% in June. The Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, another important indicator of inflation, which tracks changes in prices for goods and services consumed by all households, also increased by 6.8%. The largest 12-month increase since 1982. Together, the figures suggest that Americans are spending more each month to cover their bills, which is making it harder for them to get by. As a result, they are using up their cash reserves, and almost half are increasing their debt levels. Lending Club also discovered that the average consumer's funds fell from $11,274 in May to $10,757 in June. A quarter of households in America have no emergency funds. According to the report, people who are having trouble paying for their daily expenses have a tendency to depend more on credit cards and carry a larger monthly load, which leaves them susceptible financially. In an effort to rein in spiraling inflation, the Federal Reserve raised its target federal funds rate by 0.75 percentage point for a second time in a row. The central bank has stated that more increases will continue unless inflation clearly shows signs of slowing. As costs rise due to inflation, nearly half of all Americans are getting deeper into debt. Higher prices have had an impact. Several recent studies show that in an economy with the highest inflation rate since 1981, Americans are struggling to keep up with expenses and are putting less money aside for emergencies or long-term financial goals. According to a recent analysis of household financial health and readiness by the American Consumer Credit Counseling, nearly 40% of consumers cannot save anything at all, while 19% have had to reduce their savings rate. In the second quarter of 2022, 48% of consumers said rising prices for basic necessities had an impact on their family's lifestyle, up from 39% in the first quarter. The pandemic, wars overseas and other world events have an unprecedented effects on our society when it comes to household finances, said Alan Ahmadine, President and CEO of American Consumer Credit Counseling. Consumers have been going through many different financial phases in a very short period of time, forcing them to pivot several times accordingly to the challenge. He explained, "It may get worse before it gets better." According to a separate LendingTree study, 43% of Americans expect to add to their debt in the next 6 months in order to make ends meet, particularly young adults and parents with young children. According to the report, the majority will rely on credit card debt to bridge the gap between what they need and what they can afford. Already, the increase in borrowing, combined with auto loans, student debt, and mortgages, pushed total household debt to a new high of $15.84 trillion at the start of the year. The truth is that debt can be either a sign of confidence or struggle, said Matt Schultz, chief credit analyst at LendingTree. Many people take on debt because they feel good about their financial situation and aren't too worried about paying a little interest if it gets them what they want or need, Schultz explained. Plenty of others take on debt because they have to. There's no question that both situations are happening right now, he added. Do you consider yourself financially healthy? The number of banking customers who consider themselves financially healthy has decreased in the last year, indicating that inflation is beginning to affect most people's economic well-being. According to JD, Americans' overall satisfaction with their financial situation has reached a 12-month low. Power data. While those who consider themselves financially unhealthy are as high as 64%. This decline in overall financial health is largely due to borrowers borrowing more and saving less, with fewer safety nets in place, such as emergency funds and insurance coverage, and the impact on their creditworthiness. Thank you so much for watching the Ignition Time channel. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please take a moment to click like, subscribe and enable notifications. Also, tell your friends about Ignition Time at youtube.com/ignitiontime. We appreciate you watching, and look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Once again, please click like, subscribe and enable notifications. You can also follow us on Twitter, our handle is ignition_time. Thank you and see you soon.